Hey guys, thanks for joining us for the March newsletter. This newsletter marks our 2-year anniversary. Thanks for all your love and support, and we couldn't do this without you, the viewer. We want to do something special for you guys this month, so stick around until the end for a big surprise. This month, we're talking about Jersey law, alien abduction and NEMT coverage, transferring vehicle assets, and drug testing and silica, of course. All right, let's get started. You know how you have that one recurring dream over and over?
Have you ever had a dream that a
lot of people have one where they're flying or they're trying so hard to run away from something but just can't pick up speed, or maybe their teeth are falling out. Well, I wanted to tell you all about this one I keep having. Basically, I own a business in Pennsylvania, I'm restructuring, and I want to transfer my vehicle assets into an LLC. That's pretty crazy, right? Wait, no, yeah, this dream is super lame. Why can't I dream about something cool like being a superhero? I think if I was a superhero, I'd name myself Captain Compliance. Okay, well, I may as well tell you about it now anyways. So, according to my dream, starting up a business is fairly simple. You really just need an employer identification number, or EIN, and you need to establish what type of company you want to be. Do you want to be a limited liability company, or do you want to incorporate? Well, CNS always recommends forming an LLC because it combines sole proprietorship with a corporation's limited liability and will protect your personal assets. The complicated part comes in when you're dividing your business into separate entities and want to transfer from one business entity to another. Now at this point, you may be asking yourself, why would I divide my business into separate entities? Why can't I just have multiple businesses under one LLC? Well, even though you can do this by setting up a DBA, doing this increases your liability and other risks. For example, if a lawsuit is filed against any one of the businesses, the assets of the others could be at risk as well. So, if you want to have multiple businesses, do yourself a favor and divide them into separate entities. The reasoning behind this is somewhat complicated and kind of like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded, challenging to say the least. What am I saying? That would be impossible to do blindfolded. Or is it? See? What the? Either way, you'll just have to trust me or ask your accountant or attorney. Most tax professionals are going to recommend removing the blindfold and creating those separate entities. Ultimately, it just gives you more options for liability protection, taxes, management structure, and transferability. The core parts of each business will most likely have different strengths, liabilities, and growth goals, so it just makes sense to keep them separate, and the properties and resources of each individual LLC are protected. Now, there are advantages to separating trucking support businesses from your core businesses. Some of those advantages include separating high-risk liability, protecting your assets, retaining employees, tying employee performance to company performance, filing taxes, general clarity on what the businesses do, and not to mention how much easier it would be to sell the business if you only want to part with one business line. And this brings me to the next part of my dream. Well, the guy at the counter in my dream said, well, it all depends on how your business is currently set up. Are you transferring from an individual to an LLC? The answer is no! You need a title assignment, and you need to purchase new plates. Are you transferring from a sole proprietorship to an LLC? No again! But if you have a personal vehicle being used for business purposes, you can transfer it to an LLC. There are just 4 steps that you need to follow, and we'll throw those on screen for you, but you can always read the full article or get in touch with us if you have any questions. We're just a phone call, an email, or a form fill away. Okay, back to it. Are you transferring from a partnership to an LLC? No! The plates cannot be transferred. Are you transferring the plates from a corporation to an LLC? For the last time, no! Are you seeing a common theme here? Let's keep going. Are you transferring from 2 corporations or 2 LLCs, forming a new corporation with a new charter? Nope. Are you transferring from 2 corporations or 2 LLCs that are merging and adopting a new name under the charter of one of the original corporations? No again. Wait, are you moving stock of both corporations or LLCs that is owned by the same parties? Oh, why didn't you just say so? Yes, of course you can do that. I know. This is the weirdest and most complicated dream anyone has ever had. Just get in touch with us by email, phone, or fill out the form below, and one of our DOT licensing specialists will help you out. Well, another year has passed, and what do you get with spring? That's right, April showers, May flowers, and some
Good old-fashioned 72-hour inspection blitzes.
Don't act surprised, you knew it was coming. Did you know this 72-hour blitz is the largest targeted enforcement program on commercial motor vehicles in the world? On average, almost 15 trucks or buses are inspected every minute across North America. This year's Roadcheck is a little different than past years and has multiple focuses. The CVSA will be focusing on tractor protection, anti-bleed back systems, and controlled substances and alcohol possession. As you probably already know, there are 4 levels of inspection during an international road check, but they typically do a level 1 inspection. The level 1 inspection includes 37 steps in 2 main inspection categories: driver operating requirements and vehicle mechanical fitness. As far as tractor protection, every commercial motor vehicle has a tractor protection system, which consists of a tractor protection valve, trailer supply valve, and an anti-bleed back valve. To test this during an inspection, the inspector might ask you to release all brakes by pressing the dash valves, remove the glad hands and allow air to escape, and apply a full service brake application. The inspectors also might make sure the air is not leaking from the supply line and settles at 20 psi. They might listen or feel for any air leaks at the glad hand couplers, and they might listen or feel for leaks from both airlines. As far as the other focus on controlled substances and alcohol possession, not only will they be inspecting for those items in the cab and trailer, but you better believe they're going to be looking at drivers who might be showing signs of drug or alcohol use. As you can see, there's quite a bit that is looked at during a roadside inspection. If you want that full list as a reference, take a look at the full article in the link above or in the description below. So if you recently received a violation, went through a DOT audit, or are just concerned about potential violations if you were to get pulled over, just fill out the form below, email us, or call us, and one of our DOT compliance specialists will help you out. Did you know that violating frost law can affect your CSA scores? Crazy, right? To be honest, you shouldn't be all that surprised. If there's a law and the FMCSA requires truckers to follow it, you better believe they are fining you and collecting that money. Let me explain a little more though.
Frost law.
Frost law refers to seasonal weight and speed restrictions on certain roads. There are 16 US states with frost laws, and in many of those states, the axle weight limitations for those roads are determined by actual conditions of temperature, moisture content in the soil, and observed road conditions. These restrictions can run between specific months, and the time frame might be different depending on the state you're in. Because of this, trip planning is really important around this time of year. The best thing to do is visit the website of any state you are traveling through and determine if there are any specific highways with these restrictions. Just as an example, in our state of Pennsylvania, there are seasonal weight restrictions that run from February 15th to April 15th. And just so you know, that time frame can change based on the current weather conditions. So if old Punxsutawney Phil sees his shadow and we have 6 more weeks of winter, be prepared to follow more frost law. Actually, scratch that. Just use a weather app of some kind. That groundhog is not reliable at all.
Who can say where the road goes?
So, in most states that have frost laws, drivers typically need to slow down to 15 miles an hour below the posted speed limit. But some states actually set weight restrictions. For example, in Michigan, weight restrictions actually lower the axle loading limits and reduce the maximum travel speeds. This helps prevent damage to the roads because when frost melts under the pavement, it makes the roadbed soft, making it prone to cracks. So if a heavy truck drives over them and it's too heavy or going too fast, it can damage the road. Usually, you'll know if there are restrictions because these roads are labeled with an M, an I, or a US. Roads that are thicker and designed for year-round trucking are exempt. So if you decide to ignore these rules, you can end up with fines and damage to roads, vehicles, and cargo, resulting in violations, which adds points to your driver's record and ultimately negatively affects your CSA scores. It's important for drivers to plan their trips carefully during this time and check state websites for updates on road conditions and weight restrictions. Here at CNS, we do offer programs to help trucking companies stay compliant with these regulations, providing services such as DOT audit support, ELD management, and driver safety meetings. If you have any questions or concerns, just fill out the form below, give CNS a call, or email us, and one of our DOT compliance specialists will help you out. These days, there's pretty much an insurance policy or coverage for anything you can think of. You need pet insurance? Sure, you can get that. Want insurance on your wedding or that expensive diamond ring you got? Yep, you can do that too. Alien abduction insurance? Yeah, okay, I guess that's a thing. So what about those situations that don't involve an immediate threat to a person's health or Medicaid beneficiaries who need to get to and from medical services but don't have transportation? Yep, there's insurance for that too, and it's called Non-Emergency Medical Transportation Insurance, or NEMT coverage. For transportation businesses, NEMT coverage is a type of for-hire livery insurance and is meant for businesses that generate revenue from transporting people. So the types of vehicles that would need NEMT coverage are wheelchair vans, taxis, stretcher cars, and buses. But there are also some vehicle details that need to be considered to qualify for the coverage, like vehicle age, seating capacity, driver age, vehicle features, and safety equipment. If you think you need NEMT coverage and have any questions, you can always call, email, or fill out the form below. But before you click off and do that, let's talk about coverages and the thing you care about the most, cost. The cost of NEMT coverage can vary quite a bit, so I can't give you an exact number. It will depend on some of the requirements I just mentioned, as well as the travel radius, location of the business, claims history, coverage limits, and more. The most important thing is to make sure you have the right amounts of general liability, physical damage, workers' compensation, and umbrella or excess liability coverage. Now, I'm sure you already know what most of these are, but I'll go ahead and provide a quick recap. General liability protects your business against claims for bodily injury, property damage, and personal injury. Also, commercial auto liability requirements are a little different than for your personal vehicle. Minimum coverage is actually based on your gross vehicle weight. So if you are 10,000 pounds or less, the minimum coverage is $300,000. And if you're 10,001 pounds or more, you will need at least $750,000 in coverage. Physical damage coverage is optional but highly recommended and covers things like accidents, theft, and even vandalism. Workers' compensation insurance is legally required in most states and of course covers the cost of occupational injuries or diseases suffered by employees during work. For trucking companies, it is important to note that some states may require this coverage for all drivers, including owner-operators. Lastly, umbrella or excess liability coverage just adds onto your standard liability policy and can be useful to cover costs of lawsuits or financial losses. A quick example of this would be if you have a driver that isn't following safety protocols and gets into an accident. Your company could be found to be at fault and be liable for medical bills, property damage, legal fees, and more. If you think you need NEMT coverage, want a quick quote, or just have general questions, just give us a call, email us, or fill out the form below, and a commercial truck insurance specialist will help you out. So what's the deal with Jersey?
Everything is legal in New Jersey.
First, they built an airport in Newark, creating an experience that will make you love to hate airports. Trust me, save yourself the headache. Then, they taught all drivers in the state to change lanes so aggressively that you would think they were all driving around with a swarm of bees attacking them inside the car. Now, they're creating and implementing confusing laws without full disclosure on who it even affect. What am I talking about? Well, if you're obtaining your MC authority, you are already required by federal law to have a minimum of $750,000 in coverage for auto liability or bodily injury physical damage. But they do allow states to require stricter limits. Well, New Jersey is doing just that. Starting July 1st, they're increasing the minimum requirements to $1.5 million for commercial motor vehicles that are over 26,000 pounds. certain passenger carriers, and anyone transporting hazardous materials. In addition, CMVs weighing between 10,001 and 26,001 pounds will have to maintain limits of $300,000. The required insurance can be fulfilled through several different policies, including a policy for commercial auto, fleet insurance, commercial excess coverage, a commercial umbrella policy, or any combination of these policies. If you do business in New Jersey and need clarification or just need an insurance quote, call or email us or fill out the quick quote form below and we can help you out. So I mentioned that there's confusion around this law. The confusion is with who it applies to. The legislation does not really specify if it only applies to New Jersey intrastate operations or if it also applies to interstate carriers conducting business in New Jersey. Jennifer Blazovic, the current New Jersey Motor Truck Association Executive Director, mentioned that they have been against implementing this law from the beginning and are trying to determine how the bill will impact motor carriers in the state. It appears to be meant for vehicles registered. The word registered is what concerns everyone because it's very vague and could mean several things. According to Greg Feary, a partner of the trucking-focused law firm Scopelitis, the law could be interpreted in different ways. For example, say an Indiana-based truck has part of its registration fee given to New Jersey under the IRP program. This could be seen as registered in New Jersey and would be required to meet the new insurance requirement. To confuse things a little more, there's also something called the New Jersey Deemer Law, which basically requires insurers to provide out-of-state drivers with the same insurance coverage required for in-state motorists. So if a Pennsylvania or New York driver is driving through New Jersey and gets into an accident in New Jersey, they would be subject to the Deemer statute. If you have any questions, which I'm sure you do, give us a call or email us at the information on screen, or just fill out the form below and one of our commercial insurance specialists will help you out. Are you considering a career in trucking? Or maybe you're already on the road to getting your CDL? Well, you may be surprised to hear that some big changes might be coming your way. The FMCSA is proposing some big adjustments to the CDL process to make it more flexible and efficient. They recently released a notice with the goal to increase testing efficiency and flexibility for applicants seeking a CDL or a commercial learner's permit. For state driver licensing agencies, or as we like to call them in the industry, SDLAs, and commercial driver's license applicants, a couple of things are changing, including 1, they're expanding the applicant's ability to take a CDL skills test in a state other than the state they live in. This could mean shorter waiting times and quicker access to your CDL. 2, they're allowing a CLP holder who has passed a CDL skills test to operate a CMV on public roads without having qualified CDL holders in the passenger seat. Talk about independence, right? Number 3, they're eliminating the 14-day waiting period for applicants to take their CDL skills test after getting their commercial learner's permit. Say adios to those unnecessary delays. Number 4, they're eliminating the requirement for CMV drivers to have a passenger endorsement when transporting a passenger carrying CMV like a school bus that does not actually have passengers on it. Number 5, they're requiring third-party knowledge examiners to be subject to the same training, certification, and record check standards that are currently applicable to the state knowledge examiners. And lastly, they're requiring third-party knowledge testers to be subject to the same auditing and monitoring requirements that are applicable to third-party skills testers. Currently, these proposals are still open for public comment, but these changes are all about making the CDL process smoother, safer, and will get truckers on the road faster, all without compromising safety. So if you're ready to take the next step towards your CDL, or if you have any questions about these changes, CNS Driver Training Center is here to help. Give us a call, shoot us an email, or fill out the form and we can help you. Have you ever noticed that you don't really hear too much about South Dakota? I wonder why that is. Well, today they're jumping on the marijuana bandwagon with a law that brings them in line with other states that have established anti-discrimination protections for workers who use medical marijuana. The important part to note about the law is that the law does allow employers to take action on current and potential employees if they test positive for THC. More specifically, this applies to those employees in a safety-sensitive position. So employers are completely within their right to judge you, test you, and eliminate you. Whoa, 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 relax. Man, you South Dakotans are so sensitive. Speaking of sensitive, those safety-sensitive positions are jobs like truck drivers, pilots, construction workers, healthcare professionals, teachers, nursing home employees, and more. As one of these workers, hopefully you can understand why this law is in place. Would you want to get on a plane if your pilot was stoned and just flipping on the autopilot to take a nap? Or would you want your sweet old grandma to be taken care of by a pothead who is probably forgetting about her room that's tucked around that last corner of the nursing home? Who are we kidding? Grandma probably smokes too. If you're an employer that manages safety-sensitive employees, you can always get in touch with us by filling out the form below. So what's the takeaway here, guys? On the employee side of things, if they use marijuana for medical reasons, the law says that their rights at work should be the same as if they were taking regular pharmaceutical medicine. But for the employers out there, you can still have a policy for drug testing, prohibit drugs at work, and nothing is preventing you from refusing to hire or take action on safety-sensitive employees for testing positive. Because of this law, employers are protected from employees claiming discrimination or unfair terminations. As an employer that manages safety-sensitive employees, you need to have a drug testing policy in place as well as a workplace safety plan. They can be complicated and they really need to cover you from all angles so you can avoid potential lawsuits. Just give us a call or email us or fill out the form below and one of our occupational healthcare specialists can set you up. Okay, we've reached the end of this month's newsletter. Time to give you what you've been looking forward to. For this 2-year anniversary special, I've taken all the questions from our viewers over the course of this year and prepared a question and answer session.
Yay.
That's right, let's get started. The first question comes from Missouri. Ken wrote in to ask, Texas Matt, are you really from Texas? Well, Ken, yes, I am from Texas. Born and raised in Houston, I went to school in Austin and moved up here to Pennsylvania in 2016. Our next question is from Megan in Florida. She asked, what is your favorite movie and why? Well, I'm gonna have to go with Over the Top because Sylvester Stallone is awesome and arm wrestling is awesome and trucks are awesome. So there you go. Next, we have a question from Connor in Kansas. Connor writes, what is your favorite place to vacation, Texas Matt? Well, since I live in Pennsylvania, I'm just gonna have to go with Texas. But if I had to choose a place outside of Texas, I would say Hawaii. You just can't go wrong there, I guess. And lastly, a question from Marie from all the way in Alaska. She writes, do you eat food? And if so, what is your favorite food? Well, yes, I do eat food. And if you remember our newsletter from last year, now that is a dilly of a pickle. Typically this happens. My favorite food is pickles.